In episode 3, Alina is getting used to the finer things in life, which includes a whole staff to cater to her every need, although they're pretty rude. But one of the staff is Genya. Genya is a tailor, and a tailor can change a person's appearance. They're like a Rafka plastic surgeon. And Genya has to prepare her because in an hour she's going to meet the king, King Pyotr, and his wife, the queen, along with their son and the king's spiritual advisor. And Alina is worried that she's not ready to meet the king, but Genya talks her down, gets her dressed, and they start walking over from the little palace to the grand palace. And as they're doing that, Alina starts putting out feelers that maybe she wants to go back to where she came from. But Genya tells her that everything she needs is at the palace. As they're walking outside, she asks if Grisha has ever escaped, and it gets awkward because on the other side of the door was General Kuragin, and he heard it. And he says, why, are you planning on leaving? And she doesn't really know what to say to that because she didn't expect him to be there. She voices her hesitation that she's ready, and he turns to her and says, do you think I'd bring you here to embarrass me and embarrass you? You're going to be fine. He then escorts her into the grand palace where she is unveiled in front of the king and the queen and pretty much everybody. And she is nothing like they thought she'd be. They thought she'd be taller. They thought she'd be whatever, but it wasn't what's in front of them. The queen, who was under the impression that she was Shu, which is what her mother was, asks her, what are you? And she doesn't really know how to answer that because she came from an orphanage. She just found out that she's Grisha. So General Kuragin answers for her saying, this is Alina Starkov, the Sun Summoner. And then he clouds the entire room with smoke, looks into her eyes, grabs her arm, and she lights up, illuminating the entire room. It brings the king to his feet as he claps. He asks Kuragin, how fast can she be ready? And Kuragin says it's going to take some time. Destroying the fold is no easy task, and Kuragin doesn't even know if she can do it by herself. So for the time being, she's going to stay at the palace under his tutelage and train uninterrupted. And the king doesn't really like this answer because there's rumors that West Rafka wants to secede from Rafka and form their own country. So they need to get rid of the fold ASAP to have a unified Rafka. So he tells Kuragin, all right, get her ready, but do it quickly. And then Kuragin and Alina start making their way out of the palace, and Kuragin tells Alina, you did great. Welcome home. And then Alina is besieged by Grisha, who are welcoming her, giving her hugs. And one of those Grisha is Zoya. She was the Grisha who tried to pick up Maul that night before they left on the fold, but Maul turned her down. Well, she tells Alina that she's so happy to meet her, but then whispers in her ear how she's a half-breed. But Zoya is really the only negative one that she meets. Alina then needs to get ready for her first day of training. It's going to be combat training, and the teacher asks her if she has any experience, and she has a little bit of combat training from Maul. So the teacher wants to see what she's got, and he tells her, all right, pick your partner. And she looks around and picks Zoya, which wasn't the smartest move because Zoya's been trained since the age of 10. And Zoya is easily counter-striking her, making her look pretty bad and insulting her in the process, to the point where Alina gets so frustrated that she sucker punches Zoya. And in return, Zoya uses her powers to throw Alina back. But this gets her in trouble because she just attacked the Sun Summoner. So after this bit of training, she heads to the library because she's been having these dreams of a legendary stag. And she's had him for a while now, but she wants to look up more information on him. And as she's looking in a book, she's approached by the king's spiritual advisor. She was warned by Genya that this guy was a rat, and he is indeed pretty damn creepy. But he sees what she's reading, and he opens up another book to tell her about the history of the Grisha. The first known Grisha was a guy called the Bonesmith. He knew that the Grisha would always be persecuted, so he devised a plan to magnify their power. His power was he was able to create animals from his own bones. And if a Grisha were to kill one of these animals and then melded part of it into their body, their powers would be magnified. For some, it was small. For others, it was huge. The advisor then escorts her to her next bit of training, which is going to be with a woman named Bagra. And every Grisha trains with Bagra. She helps the Grisha harness their power, but she's pretty brutal. And she doesn't make an exception for the Sun Summoner. She starts off by insulting her and then telling her, come back when you actually believe you're the Sun Summoner. So it hasn't been a great first day of training for Alina. But it comes time for dinner, and membership has its privileges. She's so important that she has a taste tester to make sure her food isn't poisoned. But right before she can eat, a soldier stands up and reads out all of the casualties that the armies have lost. The first army, but also the second army. And then he looks right at Alina and says, what are you doing here eating? You should be training day and night to get rid of the fold. It's a pretty awkward situation for Alina. And she writes all of this down in a letter to Maul, saying that the glitz and the glamour of the palace are great, but in all honesty, she would rather be in some dingy tent with him. Now, fast forward a couple of weeks to Kaz's group, where he has taken the job from Dreesen, and hired the conductor because the conductor has been able to get people out of the little palace, which is where they figure Alina is. And the conductor is able to do this because he has a contact inside the palace, a heartrender by the name of Nina. And while most Grisha are very, very loyal to the king and to General Kurgan, she's different. She's a radical. She despises involuntary service to the crown. So Kaz's group is heading to an inn to meet up with her. Unfortunately, when they arrive, she's gone. Not by choice. While she was waiting for Kaz and his group, she was taken by Grisha hunters. She was sold out by the innkeeper. And the conductor says she's probably on a ship to Fjorda. So at this point, the conductor thinks, all right, let's pack it in. But he's also been hired to get them across the fold. And Kaz says, we're not giving up. Get us across the fold and we'll figure out the rest. So the conductor gives them a shopping list of items that they'll need to get across safely. And the group splits up. And Kaz is instructed to get a goat. But as he's walking back from the market, he sees a general from West Rafka riling up a crowd about how they need to secede, form their own country, kick East Rafka to the curb. And the crowd is supporting it. But then when he gets off stage, Kaz notices that the first person to greet him is the conductor. Kaz keeps on walking though, and he runs into Inej, who's looking for her parents' name on a memorial. She just wants some closure, find out what exactly happened to her parents so she can stop searching. But Kaz thinks she's getting distracted, saying that hope will get you killed, and telling her to just get over it. That night, the group meet at the location that the conductor gave them, and there's a reason why he's called the conductor. It's because he gets across the fold with a train that he built. But as they're getting it ready, they're missing one person, and that's Jesper. And he finally shows up, but he's got a crowd behind him because Jesper had gambled away all of the money and was forced to steal the one item on the list that he was supposed to get, the coal. And he didn't even steal the allotted amount that he was supposed to get. He's a little bit short. But the group is able to get in the train and start making their way across. And everything's going pretty good until the train is attacked by Volkra. Now, normally it wouldn't be an issue, but since they don't have enough coal, they can't outrun them. And the train is being besieged. It gets to the point where the conductor says, you probably should make your peace. But that's when Jesper shows off his marksmanship, shooting all of the Volkra, and the group is able to safely make their way across. Thanks for checking out this recap. Please consider subscribing to this channel. Like the video if you liked it. Hit thumbs down if you don't. Be nice in the comments section. Nasty comments hurt my feelings. I work hard on these. If I make a mistake, it happens. If you don't see the next video up in the end screen, it'll be up soon. Sharing is caring. Put it on your MySpace page or your away message. And check out my podcast, Scene Invaders, wherever you listen to podcasts.